So when we talk about a TD business loan, it's really important to understand that TD Bank is a geo-restricted bank. So you got to be in a certain geography to qualify for its business loan. But once you do qualify for its business loan, if you are in the specific geography, the process is pretty straightforward. It's relatively easier than a lot of folks believe. So in today's conversation, I want to talk to you about TD business loan approval, all the latest specs you need to know about. So let me give you a glance into the whole TD business loan operation thing. So when you think about TD Business Bank, I want you to think about the fact that you got to be in a state where TD Bank operates. So we're speaking about Connecticut, the District of Columbia, Delaware, Florida, Massachusetts, Maryland, Maine, North Carolina, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Virginia, and Vermont. So this is actually the geography that TD Bank actually covers right now. So if you are in those geographies, you will qualify very easily. You stand a chance to qualify for a TD business loan. Okay, so it's really important. Now there are exceptions where you can qualify if you live elsewhere in the country. If, for instance, if you have an online business and you are incorporated in Delaware, for example, you could qualify, not a problem at all. Okay, so this is a possibility. So just want to let you know. I want to quickly talk about the pros and cons of TD Bank so that you can think whether or not this is the best lender for your next business loan. So here are the pros. So TD Bank is a preferred lender, and there's no loan limit for your first mortgages through SBA. You have a very strong 504 loan program. You have their business loans are kind of I would say generous in terms of how much they allow you to. Now, if you are a TD Bank customer, you can apply online, but if you are not, you have to go to a branch. And TD actually has received in the last few years consistently higher than average ratings for customer satisfaction. Those are the pros. What about the cons here? Well, in some cases, if you do not apply for a TD Bank with the business loan with EIN only, they will require a personal guarantee. The loans and lines of credit are generally secured, especially again if you are in an industry that is a little shaky. And you must apply in person for loans over $250,000. And so you need to have a required automatic payments from a TD Bank business checking accounts. And this is only available, the bank is only available in the few geographies, the few states that I just listed earlier. Let me go granular when we talk about the review here. So when we talk about TD Bank business loan, what are we talking about? You need to understand. So TD will approve you like all the way to so TD has two clusters. So from $1,000 to $250,000, you can apply online, not a problem. Anything above $250,000, going all the way to $10 million, you have to go to a branch. And so the thing here is that TD Bank is great for a business that is a current TD Bank customer. And if your business doesn't need a constellation of funding programs, then TD Bank is great for you. I mean, TD Bank is fantastic, but TD Bank does not have the same the same array of services that a Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Citibank or Chase does have. Okay, it is still a mid-tier regional bank, so it's not a national bank. So if you are looking for, let's say if you're looking for just a business loan, a business line of credit, you're good to go. TD will also help you out with equipment financing, but that's about it. Okay. And one thing I want to say here is that when we talk about today's topic, I want to remind you that we are having a conversation about TD Bank business loan approval hacks. I'm explaining to you everything you need to know about to actually get funded ASAP. Okay. And again, just make sure that you are in the states that I listed earlier. And in terms of the requirements, TD wants you to be in operation for at least 2 years. You have a FICO score of 600, and you need to have actually, if you are trying to get anything above $250,000, if you want to apply for a business loan above $250,000, you need to maintain a minimum balance of $40,000 in the TD Bank business checking accounts. Okay, this is important. Now, anything below $250,000, you're good to go. There are no sort of liquidity restrictions, but if you want to have anything above $250,000, TD wants you to have something. Now, they're not going to use the amount as collateral, but they just want to make sure that you are actually like you are invested in them the same way they will be invested in you. Let me go a little deeper when we talk about TD business funding. Okay, so you have small business loans and lines of credit, but I want to talk to you today about the TD business loan. So the thing here is that TD has a very straightforward business loan application process, and basically you have it's a three steps. So you actually can pre-qualify if you receive, let's say, a pre-screen offer. You can pre-qualify online or at the branch, and you basically have to put your data, your business data, whatever, and see how much you could qualify for. So first step, pre-qualification. Second step, enter your data. And so when we talk about data, we're speaking about your annual revenue. That's gross revenue. So TD wants you to have at least $100,000 of revenue. Now the limits depends on the state you're in, but overall it goes from $100,000 to $250,000. That's annual gross revenue. And so that's number one. Number two, your FICO score should be around 600. That's number two. Number three, TD wants you to have a business plan. In some cases, wants you to have some kind of financial statements. So they want to see everything. They want to see your balance sheet, your income statement, your profit, your cash flow statements, and your owner's equity statement. And they also want to have articles of incorporation or articles of organization from the state. They might ask you in some cases to have a certificate of good standing from state authorities to make sure that you are indeed a legit business. But overall, this is pretty much it. So just remember, if you want to apply for anything under $250,000, you can apply online. For anything over $250,000, you need to apply in person, and you need to download a PDF application, business loan application that's available on the website. You need to download it and just print it and just go to a TD Bank, your nearest TD Bank branch. And so the thing is, if you are going for a business loan or line of credit that is under $250,000, you have flexible terms from 1 to 5 years. You have one-time disbursement of funds provided at closing. You have fixed monthly payments amortized over the life of the loan. And so this is really good. And you could also apply for a commercial real estate loan and mortgage. So here you have you can actually be approved for over $250,000. And again, it's all about you going to a branch. So if you have any question, call TD 1-855-278-8988, 1-855-278-8988. And so they are open actually Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. through 5 p.m. Eastern. I want to talk to you more about the planning. So if you want to get your TD business loan approved ASAP, you want to really plan a little bit because they will ask you for a lot of things. So I want to go through the documents that you might have to present to at least prepare together or whatever. So TD wants you to have fictitious name, assumed name, DBA, trade name, certificate or registration. So you want to show chapter and bylaws of association or a copy of minutes of the last meeting with the new elected officers. TD wants you to have a board of directors, a resolution or bylaws, LLC operating agreements, partnership banking agreements, and for loan requests between $100,000 to $200,000, TD wants to have 1 year of the most recent business tax return. So we're speaking here about your Form 1120S if you have an S corporation, your Form 1120 if you have a C corporation, or your Form 1065 plus the accompanying schedules K1, so that TD has a clear idea about your not only your fiscal compliance status, but also your financial information. So if we're talking about today's topic, we're still having a conversation about how to be approved for a TD business loan, right? And one thing I want to say here is that you might have to provide other documents. For example, a personal financial statements. So for anyone owning 10% or more of a multi-owner business, we're speaking about multi-LLC or multi-LLC, a multi-member LLC or a multi-shareholder S corporation or C corporation, you might have to provide a personal financial statement for anyone owning 10% or more. And so you also might have to provide an entity guarantee form if your business has ownership by other business. And this is important. And what I want to say here is that you need to also make sure that the PFS that you provide, your personal financial statements, is at least 30 30 days old. Nothing really like it has to be really recent. Okay. And one thing I also want to say here is that it's important to understand that TD wants you to disclose all important informations about what they call, now they call what's called in the industry beneficial owners. And so, in other words, either beneficial owners or the individual with control. So, a beneficial owner is every individual who owns directly or indirectly through any contract, arrangement, understanding, relationship, or otherwise 25% or more of the equity interest of the legal entity. For example, each natural person who owns 25% or more of the shares of a corporation. So there may be instances where you'll need to provide this information on 10% owners. And you also have to think about an individual with control. Okay, so again, this is someone who has significant responsibility for managing the legal entity, such as a CEO, CFO, whatever. Okay, bottom line is TD wants to have as much disclosure as possible about people who are important on the business before approving any loan, no matter what the amount is. Let me talk to you about the approach you want to follow. If you want to get a TD business loan approved ASAP, you need to really pay attention to what TD calls the 5C. I mean, this is not just a TD thing. A lot of banks have this sort of principles in the industry. And the bottom line here is you need to actually pay attention to the 5C. So we're speaking about your character, your capacity, your capital, the conditions in the industry. So the economy, the overall state of the economy, and the collateral. The thing here is that when we speak about your character, so you as a business owner, if you want to apply for a TD business loan, TD will actually do some kind of due diligence. They will do some kind of investigation on you. So TD actually goes above your like a personal like they will do a hard pull on your credit, but they also will do a little like a preliminary Google search to make sure that you have quote unquote a good reputation. Okay, and what about your capacity? Well, first of all, your capacity has to do with your cash inflows and cash outflows. In other words, you are the amount of cash you're applying for. Do you have the resources to pay it back? In other words, would you be in a position to generate? Would your business be in a position to generate enough revenue to give you the excess cash for you to actually repay the loan? So that's about capacity. Capacity just means that your business has or will have enough cash on hand to repay the loan. What about capital? Now, capital actually revolves around funds on hand for contingency. So loan repayment is more assured because TD wants to make sure that they're getting paid. Especially if you are asking for anything above $250,000, you better have a clear idea how you're going to repay TD. What about the conditions? So TD will pay attention to the economic or industry situations that may impact your ability to repay a loan. So TD will start paying attention to the ebbs and flows of the economy in your industry, and specifically how this affects you at the local level, at the state level, and then at the national level and also the international level. So TD actually has this several layers of analytical, I would say analytical insight to make sure how you are impacted. In terms of collateral, TD might ask also if you will be willing to pledge some specific assets in case you are unable to repay. How do you actually assure TD Bank that you'll be repaying the bank? So those are the 5 elements so if you're able to provide satisfactory answers to those 5 C's, chances are you are like one step closer to getting approved. Let me quickly talk to you about the strategy here. So when we talk about a TD business loan, we have to constantly focus on the strategy. We have to make sure that we are constantly having the right strategy because we want to be approved right away. So if you want to be approved right away, so your strategy about a TD business loan should be that you need to focus on planning. You need to develop your plan. You need to focus on profit. You need to manage your cash flow. And you need to, most importantly, you need to focus on financing. The reason why those 5 elements are important or that we have seen in the last 10 to 15 years, TD Bank always goes through those 5 elements. Planning. So we're speaking about prospective analysis here. Develop a plan, having a plan that allows you to actually execute your idea, your vision. You need to focus on profits, right? So you need to make sure that revenue is really important, managing cash flows. So like, don't be one of those businesses where you're generating revenue, but you have no cash flows. In other words, customers are taking forever to repay you. So you're showing like positive numbers in the books, everything is fine. But when TD Bank start looking at your bank account, that account has barely anything. So you have to make sure that there is not such a huge delta between your accounts receivable and your cash inflows. In other words, customers are paying on time or relatively within a decent window. Okay, so if you're extending net 30 terms to customers, make sure they're paying within net 30 terms. If you're extending net 45 terms, which you should not in most cases, but if you do because you want to get the sale, make sure that they actually are paying you. And if you have a longer sales cycle, in other words, you are allowing customers to pay you within net 60 days. Make sure again that you have enough cash flows to actually cover everything. Maybe you might need to have a business line of credit to sort of cover operations in the meantime. But long story short, if you want TD to approve your business loan, make sure that the strategy revolves around planning, developing an actual plans. So we're talking about you looking at your competitors, reducing the risks, okay? And you need to focus on profits. You need to crunch the numbers to make sure that you are running a profitable company. You need to manage your cash flows. So we're speaking about forecasting the money coming in and going out of your business, and focusing on also getting the right financing for your business in the long run. This is quite essential. Let's talk about your eligibility. So if you are, let's say, see, with TD, even if you are a startup, you could still qualify if you have a strong relationship with the bank. So we have said this before. It's one of those things people don't believe it, but unless you really are, if you have insider information as we do for the last 15 to 20 years with TD, you can see that the bank has a very, very flexible requirements. Okay, so basically, in terms of minimum annual revenue, you are speaking about $100,000 all the way to $250,000. Minimum time in business, 6 months to 2 years minimum. Minimum credit score, 575 all the way to 600. In some cases, they will ask you to go a little up to 625. And again, as you know, as I've said before, TD actually covers many states in like, especially on the northeast. So depending on the states you're in and the economic sector you're in, TD might actually have different guidelines. So these guidelines are just standards, but each TD region or each TD bank branch has some latitude as to what they should go after, what they should actually ask for. But the most important thing is, if you start a conversation, make sure that you actually have your proper paperwork in terms of tax returns, in terms of your financial statements, in terms of your financial projections. So it's not just about actual returns, but also financial projections, because the actual returns are essentially talking about the past, right? But if you want to project yourself in the future, if you want to paint a positive image of the future, you are going to need to have financial projections. So this is where TD is going to see how you yourself envision your business, what are the prospects for profitability in the industry, what you think about your business yourself. And this is really important. And don't forget all the legal paperwork also that I just mentioned about. Like I talk about your LLC or S Corporation Operating Agreement or C Corporation Operating Agreement, the bylaws, the certificate of good standing. So this is important. This must come from the states, because this establishes another layer of credibility, another layer of legitimacy, telling TD Bank that you indeed are in good hands, you indeed are in good terms with the authorities. They want to see also your tax returns to make sure that you are paying your taxes, not only at the business level, you also are paying at the individual level. Obviously, if you have an LLC, you don't pay taxes at the business level, but it still wants to see the tax return. They still want to have the 1065 along with the accompanying Schedule C's, not the C, Schedules K1. Same thing for a C corporation. They still want to have the Form 1120S, so they know that you actually are filing tax returns. Now, for a C corporation, you have to pay taxes at the corporation level, but also at the personal level. So those are minute details that are really important. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I'm just going to do a recap now. So I just spoke to you about the TD business loan. How do you get approved? The approval hacks, all the ins and outs. So I gave you a glance into the process. I reviewed the business loan. I spoke about TD business funding in general. The planning, I spoke about the planning, the approach you need to follow, the strategy, and the eligibility. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.